Sounds great. Hi, guys. Doug Shabelman. I'm CEO of Burns Entertainment. Really excited to be the lead moderator for this exciting panel. Introduce our two panelists. Traci Mason is the VP General Manager of Kadenwood. And Dan Goldstein is the VP of Marketing at the Skills. And I wanted to introduce them and let them give a little quick background on themselves as well. Traci, how about we start with you?
Sure, yeah. Hi, I'm Traci Mason. As Doug said, the VP General Manager of Consumer Products Business here at Kadenwood. I've spent many years in the CPG brand marketing industry on brands like Dial and Right Guard. While I was on Right Guard, we did a deal with the NBA as the official deodorant of the NBA and also partnered with NBA athlete Chris Paul. And then I've been with Kadenwood since the beginning, early 2019. We're a privately held consumer products company focused on building great brands in the CBD space. And we launched our first brand last year. The brand is called Level Select. And we did that behind the support of professional athletes, which we now have 5 on our roster. So we have Ricky Fowler from the PGA, Carson Palmer from the NFL, Steve Garvey from the MLB, and Myers Drysdale from the WNBA, and Henry Cejudo from the UFC. So looking forward to sharing some of our experiences today.
Great. Dan?
Thanks, Doug. I'm excited to be here, and thanks, Traci, as well. Like many of you, I've spent a good amount of my career starting on the agency side and then moved over to the brand side to focus as a brand manager. I joined an organization called The Skills in early March, pre-COVID. And the reason why I say pre-COVID is we are building a company, and we've launched on September 1st an organization that when we talked to Doug and Traci, they both said, how great is it that your product is an e-learning platform for how to learn sports? And I like to introduce our product in that way because we have done something that we think no one else in the industry has had. We've built an organization where consumers and students can actually learn from some of the world's best athletes. Before I tell you who's on The Skills as a platform, the reason we did this is for 2 real reasons. One is there's so much research in this world that shows when young children participate in sports, it leads to a positive impact for the rest of their lives. So better graduation rates, better grades in school, better jobs post-college or post-high school, and it really translates to long-term success. And the second thing is we really feel like the world's best athletes are great teachers at other things outside of sports. So not only can they teach us how to kick a soccer ball, they can also teach us how to better set goals, how to overcome adversity, and how to be better teammates and better leaders. So we launched on September 1st with complete online courses taught by great athletes such as Shaun White, Maria Sharapova, Carrie Walsh-Jennings. We launched a course with Larry Fitzgerald about a month ago. We are launching a course with Michael Phelps in about 2 to 3 weeks from now. And then we have a course coming from Megan Rapinoe right before Christmas. So I'm super excited to talk a little bit about my experience at the Skills, before the Skills, in the sports world as well, and then chat with both Doug and Traci today. Thank you.
That's good. Good intros there, and hopefully everybody gets a pretty good indication of the experience level that our 2 panelists have. And I think I'll start out, by asking a question, and it's a question that I ask all the clients that we work with. When you're considering what talent to represent your brand, what top attributes do you look for in a partner? So what is it? What are the key points that you look to? Dan, I'll start with you when you're looking, because obviously you have a lot of current experience right here. So let's start with you right there.
Absolutely, Doug. When we actually choose platform, or when we choose athletes to bring onto our platform, we look for 2 things. One is, are they actually great at what they do? We're an educational platform. We want these athletes to teach some of their skills. For them, it's important that they are standalone as an expert at what they do. When we listed out the 5 or 6 athletes that we work with right now, they are all recognized as being great at their skill and at their sport. For us, that's all about credibility. We feel like it's important to make sure that our athletes are credible in the space and credible with their teaching. But more importantly, we look for athletes that stand for something outside of just being great at the sport. Michael Phelps talks so much about overcoming or about mindset and overcoming mental challenges. Shaun White actually is a great teacher at creativity and how to think outside the box. Maria Sharapova is a phenomenal teacher of how to be confident in yourself and how to believe in yourself every day. When we actually choose our athletes' skills, it really touches on those two key areas. Are they the best at what they're doing? And do they have a skill outside of their sport they're teaching? The other thing that we really focus on, and this is important for our business, is we're not just looking for athletes who want to upload a video to Instagram or Twitter or TikTok, whatever they're on, and throw a hashtag ad at the end of it. For us, we try to find athletes that want to truly be partners. They want to leave our product feeling like it's something that they actually care about, they're passionate about, they want to be a part of it. So for all of our athletes, they are incredibly involved in the entire process. They like to give us feedback and thoughts on not only their courses, but where the business is going. And for us, it puts a little bit of onus on us that we have a responsibility then to maintain their brand image, think about what they're trying to do outside of our business, and make sure that our product and our business is helping them essentially manage their personal brand that's so important for all athletes and influencers alike.
Traci, love to hear your take on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to, I think, some of the things that Dan mentioned as well, all critical. So most importantly for us, we really want the partnership to feel authentic and not forced. When you find that, I think authentic partnership within an athlete can really do wonders for your brand. And so for us, we've really partnered with athletes who have started using CBD as a part of their regimen, who are big believers in the product and what it can do for them. And that was really our focus for starting to find, the right partners for our brand, because we wanted to make sure, especially in the category that we work within, that it was coming through authentically. And that really goes a long way with consumers, especially in this CBD category where it's still needing to build trust and transparency and credibility with consumers. So our professional athlete testimonials have really been extremely helpful in bringing new users and consumers into our brand and bringing that trust to this category that we're really trying to build and take a leadership position in. And then, do you have a question, Doug?
Well, no, that's interesting because I guess keeping with this theme, and we see it, happening more so than ever, is how important collaboration can be, and how important collaboration and partnership in terms of putting forth the messaging that your brand is looking at. So how important is collaboration to you? Is it a little bit more of a, you want to get the brand's voice out there first and then have the talent collaborate and add to it? Or is it really more so a collaboration from the very beginning with who you're choosing?
It's 100% a collaboration from the beginning. And one of the benefits we have as a private company is that in these partnerships, we're able to offer equity to these athletes. And so they essentially become owners in our company, and they feel even, really more like they want to collaborate. They own our success with us, and they want to be a part of it. They call us up and say, what can I do next? Are there other PR opportunities, other media opportunities? And we find that that's really beneficial, and that really helps. And in terms of thinking about, do we give them something to say from our brand voice versus their voice, and how do we bring that all together? Because again, going back to the authenticity, that we want to make sure it comes through. And for us, it really depends on the athlete. So Steve Garvey has been with our brand since the very beginning. He was involved in helping us develop the first formulas, and being involved from the start, and being the pro that he is, he's always thinking about communicating in the brand's voice and collaborating with us to do so. But then someone who's newer to our roster, like Henry Cejudo, who's a UFC fighter, he has such a personality, and he's known for it with his audience. His nickname is King of Cringe, and he wears that proudly. And so you're much better off with him to kind of give him some creative license and let him run with it. You give him a few, key points to hit on the brand, and you collaborate up front. But then you let him run with it, because that's what his following and his fan base is really engaged in, is that unique brand that he's created for himself. So they want to see that stand through. And so you find a way to connect that all. But I think, it's important. And for us, it kind of depends on who's the athlete and what's the form of media, as far as where that brand voice comes in and where their own voice comes in, and how we collaborate across all of that.
Dan, it seems like that's a key component for what you guys are doing. Give me your response in terms of the collaboration and the voice.
Absolutely. Everything we do at the Skills is a complete collaboration between us, our athletes, and their teams. But we also really try to loop in their fans and other individuals in their sports as that other third element of collaboration. For us, what we really try to do is talk to our athletes, understand why they want to coach on our platform. For us, we believe the biggest part of our business, it's not about the skills. It's about Michael Phelps. It's about Larry Fitzgerald. It's about Maria Sharapova. So our first conversations are understanding why they want to work with us, why they want to partner with us, and what insights that they have in their minds that they want to share with up and coming athletes in their sports. It starts with a conversation about what they've learned throughout their career, what their coaches have taught them. We then feed in insights from customers and prospects, from social listening to understand what people in the industry and that sport are trying to learn. And then it's a constant dialogue back and forth to craft the right course. The second thing we do, though, from a marketability standpoint of our course, is our marketing team does not actually present back a plan to the athletes and say, we want you to post A, B, and C in social media or do X, Y, or Z. It's an ongoing dialogue. We start with a rough template and a framework of what we're trying to achieve. They know their audiences and their fans much better than we do. And we try to tap into them to make sure whatever they put out in the world from our business is authentic to them. We want it to fit into their newsfeed. We want it to fit into a conversation that makes sense for them. We want them to feel pride in what they're actually sharing and what they're talking about. And from an overall business standpoint, the performance shows. I think I can speak from before the Skills and other roles I've had. When you ask an athlete or an influencer to upload a 30-second TV spot to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, it doesn't perform well because it's not authentic. It doesn't speak to them. And what we really try to do is to ask them to take their overall feelings, their overall social approach, on how they can build the skills into their existing social media strategy.
Well, it's interesting that you kind of talk about that and get into a little bit of the social media strategy too. And enough with the softballs. Let's get into a couple of a little bit more meaty ones too. But it's really interesting that you guys both have very similar perspectives and really successful ones as well. But I'll get into a little bit more of the meat, and I talk about, with social justice and social injustices becoming such a prevalent part of society right now and becoming a more important aspect of how brands are putting forth their messaging. How much of a factor is that when choosing a brand ambassador or looking at, hey, what's our strategy going to be? And then if we're going to be working with somebody, where does that fit in? Traci, I'll start that one back with you on this one, if that's okay. Where does that take you right now with the current state in the country?
Yeah, I think, first, it's really great for athletes as role models to take a stance for and stand up for what they believe in. I think they have a great platform to do that, as we all know. And as a brand partnering with athletes, this is something you have to think about. You want to make sure, they're good people who can go and reach beyond and think beyond their sport or their ability to be a professional athlete. So it is important. We certainly don't direct them to do something or not do something, but we do encourage and like for all of them to have their own beliefs and platforms that they can then stand on to use.
Dan?
Yeah, I will say before I talk about the Skills, I think I am personally a huge fan of what went on with the NBA this summer. So thinking about how social justice was truly just written on the court floor, how different athletes pushed to turn stadiums into polling stations. For us, we look for athletes that have a stand. They stand for something. And while I don't want to dive too far into social justice, I think the first thing that all of our athletes stand for is they believe education has an impact on the rest of our lives, that the more educated you are, the more access to sports and team environments you are, that you're more likely to stand for something and have a belief in something. So that's really important for us. The second thing that's actually a part of our business is one of the big reasons that Larry Fitzgerald chose to join our business was our mission. So thinking about how do we get more kids involved in sports and how do we bring education around sports and how to play those sports to kids that normally would not have access to those sports. So one of the many things that we're working on in our business is we realize that there are certain sports that are not relevant to different demographics, and there's no way of getting around that there's high cost to play certain sports. There's very high cost to coaching. Our goal, and one of the things that we're working on with 2021, and Larry's actually helping us with this, is thinking about how do we drive more participation of sports at a youth level, and how does our product help bring more access to kids that couldn't afford our product or couldn't afford access to a traditional coach. So we are thinking about things like partnering with different organizations, looking at places like Boys and Girls Clubs, different charities that are important to our different athletes, and making sure that when we sell courses to audiences that can afford these sports, we're also trying to find inroads ways that we can actually give memberships to youth and students that normally wouldn't have access to a football coach. They definitely would not have access to a pool or the ability to learn how to swim, and expose them to these athletes. So if it's something that they want to learn from, they can learn through a device and then take that and translate that into the real world.
Interesting. So let me, I'll take a little bit of a different, piece in terms of approaching how your brands have evolved and how you're making some of these choices. You both worked elsewhere in somewhat different capacities at different companies. And I wanted to get your perspective on your experiences that you've had previously, and how you've taken some of those, various elements, successes, failures from those other places that you were working at, and how you really approach building your brands right now with athletes, and how you're building out the sports marketing aspect of your respective organizations. Dan, I'll let you jump in on this one.
Absolutely. So for everyone else, Doug and I connected. I didn't tell them this story before, so it'll be brand new for you guys to hear. My first internship when I was 21 years old is I worked for a minor league baseball team. I worked in a promotion organization in New Haven, Connecticut for a very small team. And my challenge was getting more consumers at the stadium and getting them to want to come. We ran anything from figuring out promotions, get people in the door, think of dollar beer night, to literally running things on the field in between every half inning, where I dressed up like a big brown bear and chased their center fielder off the field after every fifth inning. For us, though, the big takeaway that I learned in that instance from a sports marketing standpoint, and it was really helpful because this was not Yankee Stadium. You're not in front of 80,000 people. You're in front of maybe 2,000 people. Is you have to understand what people care about, what makes them laugh, what makes them show up. You have to entertain them, and you have to get them feeling excited about what they're doing. And when you can do that, they'll want to come back. They'll want to spend more money. They'll want to be a part of your business. And for us, that's what we're trying to do at the Skills. For us, it all comes down to building the right product, getting people to see the product, making sure they enjoy it and they love it. And that's the real key important thing for us as our business is our athletes are the gateway. For us, the product is access to those athletes and helping people learn. And it's strangely enough, what I learned dressed as a brown bear running around for the New Haven Cutters in center field is if you can make people love what you're doing and have a good time, they're going to become loyal. They're going to want to spend money with you, and they're going to want to be excited for what you have to come in the future.
Traci?
Yeah, I think, across all of the different experiences I've had working in sports marketing, across all the brands that I've worked on, we talked about this a little bit, but I think one of the things that was a good learning early on for me was being a good partner back to the athletes and supporting them in what they're doing. And Dan talked a little bit about this as well. But for example, on the Right Guard brand, when we partnered with Chris Paul, he did an annual charity event in his hometown every year. And while we were partnering with him, we would attend that event and be help in sponsoring it as well. We'd go and participate in all of the events. We'd participate in the bowling tournament. If you know Chris Paul, he's a huge bowler, and that was so important to him. So that was just a good way to not only further develop the relationship, that personal relationship when you get to be with them in those environments, but also being with them in their own environment, supporting their own causes. really goes a long way in building that partnership. And so I think that was a key learning early on in working in kind of sports marketing and working with professional athletes. And then I think some other things you learn along the way, which has shaped a little bit of what we're doing here at Kadenwood today, is that obviously every athlete doesn't resonate with your entire consumer base. And so that's why we felt like it's important for us to build a broad range of athletes. We span multiple sports and we're looking to continuously build on that. So it's kind of working through those various things and learning along the way to figure out how you can continue to optimize working within these partnerships.
Interesting. So, that kind of takes you into the next, about the past and now into the present. And it's come up on the chat, but it was one of the questions I wanted to bring up as well is COVID-19 and the effects and impacts that it's had on some of the experiences that maybe you were going to bring to the table, or activations that your brands were going to participate in. How has it impacted, and are you seeing a big impact, and you've had to make a big pivot? A lot of my clients right now, with a lot of the talent that we're working on, we're seeing shoots being done at home. We're seeing talent maybe interested in working in different ways than maybe they were before. So how's that impacting your marketing strategies, and what do you see moving forward for your brand in the near future? Traci, I'll put that to you.
Yeah, so COVID has definitely created some challenges from a marketing perspective. It's brought some limitations for sure, but we've worked around it. We found some opportunities within it to trying to make the best of it. But it has limited some media, PR, interview type opportunities for our athletes that want to go out and do those types of activities for us. But when it was time to do our TV shoot a couple of months ago, fortunately, we were able to split that into, 1 day shoot per athlete and go to, Doug, just like you mentioned, go to their homes or settings near their homes and catch them for the shoot. That allowed us to pull it all together at the end. Fortunately, our script was kind of perfect actually for that type of environment and going and shooting the athletes within their home environments anyway. So it didn't slow us down in terms of getting that, getting out on TV and getting that national broad reach media that we were so anxious to get for our newer brand that, as I mentioned, just launched about a year ago. So for us, we were able to find ways creatively to work it out that kind of turned in our favor, in a sense, I'd say, as we're really pleased with how the creative came out. And then an opportunity it really brought up for us, COVID brought up for us the fact that the media landscape had changed so much, and networks were looking at their plans, what were they going to do? So it brought up an opportunity for us with a relationship we have with Discovery Networks to do, again, going back to we're a private company and the benefits of that, we were able to do an equity swap for media deal. And so now we have media set up in place to run our spot on for the coming year. So, some challenges, certainly some, trying to find some ways to work around that, trying to find some opportunities in it. And we feel good about where we're going and just being mindful of the landscape moving forward and continue to work within that and around it as much as possible.
Dan, I know we talked about it a little bit, but your business, obviously the model seems to be, I don't want to say it's perfect for the situation, but tell us how it's impacted what you're trying to do and what you're trying to do with some of the athletes.
Yeah, I will say very similar to Traci, we had some huge challenges early on. We were set up to do multiple shoots throughout the spring and summer. Because of COVID, we had to actually postpone those and rethink how our business operated from a production standpoint. One of the best things that actually came out of this business, or out of COVID for us, is we found out how to make our production shoots a lot leaner. So we really asked who needs to be at a production shoot and who doesn't need to be at a production shoot. We're fortunate that our production team was built from big studios experience. We are fortunate that our athletes are the only people that are really the talent at the day of the shoot. So for us, it's easy enough that we can have an athlete in a studio. We can be safely distanced. Everyone else can be masked. We figured out using actually a lot of third-party help, how we can be really safe and reoperate our business. The second thing we've done, though, is we've rethought how we do remote shooting. So how can we send out iPhones, lighting and microphone rigs to athletes and get additional content when needed? So from a production standpoint, it has had its challenges, but it's also had its blessings because it's made us rethink how we operate as a very early on company. From a marketing standpoint, there have absolutely been some challenges. We've had to rethink through our messaging strategy. So like everyone else, everyone thought maybe COVID would be a few weeks thing and then a few months thing. And now we're realizing it's a much longer thing. And for us, we've had to tweak our launch dates or our company of when we launched. We've tweaked our launch messaging a little bit from this is how you prepare for your upcoming volleyball and football seasons to a message that's realistic that says you probably may not be playing volleyball or football this year. In lieu of it, here's how you can learn some new skills for when the seasons may start up again. And then the third big challenge, similar to what Traci said, is the media landscape is very different right now. In the past, and from past experiences with other companies like working with Major League Baseball and at Reebok, your opportunity is to use the media to tell your story, to use your athletes to talk about what they're doing in the press. Between COVID and the election, that hasn't been as much of an opportunity, I think, for all advertisers right now, because we all know our news cycle is full of COVID and the election, which limits brands, specifically smaller and newer brands, opportunities to tell their story via those channels.
Interesting. And then, along, I guess, in taking the COVID-19 and the impact it's had, on your businesses and things, the ratings of professional sports, college sports, you're seeing a decline. And, there are all sorts of, various, questions as to why the ratings are going down. It seems to be a perfect thing to keep people excited, gives them something to take their mind off of a few of the things that are going on in society these days. Would these ratings, do they concern you enough that maybe you would look outside of sports a little bit more so, and maybe look to influencers, maybe look to musicians, maybe look to entertainment celebrities a little bit more so? And how do you gauge that? I mean, I know both of the businesses seem to have a very big sports take, but how do you gauge that, and where do you think that's going to go for you? Dan, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I will say it's obviously a challenge. For us, it's even more if you're selling a course on how to snowboard and there's no half pipes open in the US, your market is obviously a little different. We went into our business realizing that our courses were going to be split into two different topics. So half of our course would be how to learn how to snowboard safely from Shaun White. The other course applies to other skills that you can actually learn from Shaun, things like creativity, overcoming adversity, or goal setting. For us, we've realized that some of our sports, things like swimming or volleyball, in parts of the world, you can do those sports COVIDly safe, or they're at least happening in parts of the world. For other sports, we know many high school football seasons have been canceled, or we know that many, as I said, many half pipes are closed from a snowboarding perspective. For us, it's thinking about how do we continue to market our product? How do we market it in a different way? But more importantly, we have to be relevant to our consumer. If they're not thinking about lacing up and playing football with an organized team this year, we're trying to make sure that we're marketing them in a way that's relevant to them so they care about our product. But it also fulfills a need that they have, which is either entertainment, learning new skills while they're not playing, or teaching them skills that are relevant to their football career or passion, even though they may not necessarily be playing as a part of a team this year.
Traci?
Yeah, I would say for us and for our product, so sticking with sports and athletes is really critical and important, because our product Level Select is, a pain relief product, a sports recovery product. So obviously professional athletes resonate the most. So we're, sticking to that versus looking at maybe other celebrities in this landscape that we're in. And I guess we've been, we haven't been too concerned about, the direct impact of ratings going down. But as I mentioned before, the concerning side for us is it has limited some of those PR opportunities or media opportunities for our athletes. The flip side of that is as the different seasons have been adjusted a little bit for the different sports, there is sometimes better availability with some of our athletes to do other things, maybe not out in the media or in PR, but we can leverage, their social media following and really leverage what they're doing to stay relevant with their audience in these times. And so we try to just find ways around it and stick to that.
Interesting. All right, I think we have time for one more, and it's always kind of one of my favorite things to ask is, I want to get, obviously we're talking to two professionals who've done a lot of, have a lot of experience in the world of sports marketing. Give us your favorite campaign that maybe you've seen recently. Could be one of yours, but it could also be, it could be one of ours, that you've seen in the industry that you really liked, whether it's sports, whether it's entertainment, whether it's music, a campaign that really resonated with you and why. It could be something, again, that's on air now, or it could be something previous. Traci, I'll throw that one to you first.
Yeah, I will just, I guess, biasly, I'll say our campaign that we just created, because it was really a work in progress, and we had to work around a lot of challenges with COVID. And I'm also sharing this just so hopefully everyone goes out and goes to our YouTube channel and checks it out, because I'd love to hear what people think about it. So we just started airing it a couple weeks ago, but it features, our athletes. And one of the challenges we have in this space, in the CBD space, it's a very new industry. You can't really make claims about your product. We know our product works wonders. We have testing on it, but because of the FDA regulations, there are things we have to be cautious about saying. So we're very challenged with not being able to make claims, and therefore we even leverage, lean on our athletes more and their testimonials to support that. So we tried to create a spot around that, and again, found ways in this challenging environment to do so. So we're really, really proud of and really excited about using the athletes and getting it launched. And it's our first launch into national TV as Kadenwood and as the Level Select brand. So that one's near and dear to my heart right now, and I'd love for people to check it out, and would love to hear feedback too.
Good self-promotion, Traci. We like that. It's always good. Always needed here. Dan, what about you?
One of my favorite campaigns of all time comes from Nike, the Greatness campaign. For me, and I hope I quoted that right. The reason I love that campaign is it highlights the impact of sports on everyday people. So how you can find your inner strength, how you can overcome challenges, why sports and sports marketing is not limited to the top 1% of the 1% of athletes who get paid millions of dollars for it. And I think that's a lot of what inspires us at the Skills all the time is our athletes are great and we love telling their stories. But the most impactful thing is we hope in a year or two that our advertising is telling the story of the 16-year-old girl that we heard from last week in Toronto who made a volleyball team because she watched Carrie Walsh's class and it inspired her and it gave her the courage to go out and try out for a new team. And for us, sports marketing is so much more than having an athlete say, I love this product, you should try it. It's how do we convince a customer or convince a human being that they can learn from someone that they see on TV every Sunday to make a change in their life, whether it's big or small. That's what we're all about, is inspiring that change, hopefully seeing it, and then having the ability to tell off how someone's truly changed their life from viewing our product. So hopefully a little bit of a plug there, but for me, it's all about that great Nike work that I believe came out of Wyden a number of years ago.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, I think that about does it for our group. I want to thank Traci Mason, VP General Manager